Pablo, good to see you. How you doing? How you been, Pablo? Joe, good to see you as well. Evening. How you doing? Pure, good to see you as well. How you doing? Evening. JP, good to see you as well, brother. How you doing? How's things? Picture of Squish. Happy Pisces, good to see you as well. How you doing? Hey, brother Miles of CMF, good to see you as well. Comatose, how you doing? How's things, brother? Evening, Miles and CMF. Joe, good to see you as well. How you doing? How's things? Mike, good to see you as well, brother. How you doing? The picture looks squished on my end. The picture looks squished on your end. Oh. Is it squished for everyone? Just out of curiosity. Good evening, brother Miles. Funky brother, good to see you as well. How you doing? Evening, all. Good to see you as well. How you doing? Long time. How you been? Today, some big announcements were made from Ripple's side, to be fairly honest, which can also be seen as good news as well. It means that, whatever David Schwartz was essentially doing for Ripple's company, it has come to an end, and now he can join the board of directors, which, he's done tremendous work for the XRP ledger, to be fairly honest. Picture on my end is like that too. That's a bit weird. Good evening, CMF. Funky brother, good to see you as well. How you doing? How are you? I'm doing great. How you doing? That's a bit weird. Is the picture squished for everyone? Yes, you're squished for me too. Okay, I don't know why that's happening. That's a bit weird. Good evening, Miles. How are you doing? I'm doing great. Kelly, good to see you as well. How you doing? Good evening, Miles of CMF. Bull XRP, good to see you as well. How you doing? Hello, Miles. Hope you're well. T, good to see you as well. How you doing? Looks good for me. Okay, let's go, Mike. So I think it might just be for some people. Inside of CMF, that picture might look squished. Good evening, Miles of CMF. Manny, good to see you as well. How you doing? I think it might look squished for some people. For others, it might look normal. I think the ones, if the screen is looking squished right now, go out, come back in, see if it's fixed. Because for some people, it's not squished. For some people, it is. So if the screen is squished, go back out, come back in. Hopefully, it's fixed. Good evening, CMF and Miles. Denise, good to see you as well. How you doing? No, you need to go out and come back in. Yeah, looks good for me. Let's go, T. Okay, let's do intro. Fix now. Let's go. One love, so it's fixed now. Let's do intro, disclaimer, and what we're going to be going through on tonight's live. Major essentially announcements were made on tonight's live, which we're going to go through. Welcome to the CMF Live. If you're watching this for the first time ever, the CMF stands for Crypto Miles Family. My name is Miles. You can tune to this live Monday to Friday, 10 p.m. London time onwards for the most recent news regarding cryptocurrency, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations, pretty much all the information you need to know about this world completely transforming into a digital space. The disclaimer of this live, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. And this is episode essentially 383 of the CMF Live. Right now you're watching, and as always, we do live Q&As as well, which means if you do have any questions, any part of the live show, put it outside the comment section. More than happy to help you out. And I want to take a quick second just to say, honestly, thank you so much to everybody from the CMF who has already liked and retweeted this live, if you're watching this on X, and who's also put a comment outside the live as well. Hashtag whoever you want, or XRP in this case, because of David Schwartz. And if you're watching this on YouTube as well, if you also like the live and put a comment outside the live as well, honestly, thank you so much to you too. If you haven't done that, CMF members, take 1 second just to like and retweet and put a comment outside the live. Being out and back in, all good too. Let's go pure. Hi, Miles of CMF. George, good to see you as well. How you doing? Paul, good to see you as well. How you doing, brother? So on tonight's live, we're going to talk about why the market is slightly down. It's still relatable to the whole government shutdown situation. We're also going to be talking about on tonight's live some essentially announcement news, some prospectus news, some data news, and obviously the most important news we're going to go for on tonight's live is the Ripple news, essentially, with David Schwartz, with essentially announcements on the XRP ledger and the Ripple movements and so on. So a lot of things essentially to cover on tonight's live. Now, before we go through the first news, which is regarding the US government, because we have an update on that matter. We don't know if it's good or bad, but it's still an update on that matter. Let's go inside the comment section first, and then we go straight into the first news. Hey, can you explain how we get funds off Tangent into our account if we do want to take profits, as I've heard that exchanges will block this? if you want to take profits out of your Tangent accounts, you would have to essentially transfer over to an exchange and then take profits. You can also use Tangent's own DeFi spaces if you want, or you can essentially transfer to an exchange or transfer it to Uphold, and then you could transfer it back into your bank accounts. None of these methods are recommended because it's not financial advice, but these are essentially the tools that you could pretty much use. You could either use Tangent's own DeFi space or transfer back out to an exchange. The benefit of having a Tangent is that your wallet is protected from everything pretty much, being off essentially a cold storage wallet. If you want to essentially use those funds, you would have to transfer them over into a hot wallet or essentially an exchange to be able to use those funds or take profits. Morning, Miles, the CMF. Shelly, good to see you as well. Morning. How you doing? How you been, Shelly? Okay, let's go for the first news on tonight's live, which is regarding the US government. We have some sort of an update on that matter because it is still weighing in right now, the whole government shutdown situation. That is why the crypto market and the stock market aren't moving as much. They're pretty much staggered because we don't know where it's going to be going. So here is the essential recent update we received today. The United States anticipates a government shutdown tomorrow, with the Senate likely to vote for reopening over the weekend. This phenomenon has increasingly become the frequent, essentially in recent years, due to the country's unmanageable, essentially debt and rising expenses. Recent statements from the two Federal Reserve Fed officials offer insights into the economic outlooks, particularly relevant ahead of the crucial data to be set to release on Friday. And we might be going into a government shutdown tomorrow. And on Friday, we're supposed to be expecting some sort of data to come out. If we do have a government shutdown, we might not see that data on Friday as well. The Fed is to essentially set to make its next interest rate decision at the end of October, nearly a month away. Previously, while making essentially the latest rate cuts, the Fed confronted raising essentially inflations and alarming essentially the employment levels. Since then, employment essentially has shown recovery signs, aligning with expectations for further upcoming data, which may indicate that further improvement is ahead. Reviewing recent insights from the two Fed members, essentially Collins concluded his speech emphasizing key points. This is what Collins had to say from the Fed. By 2025, further easing might be warranted. I cannot dismiss worst-case scenarios for inflation and the labor markets. If the economy meets expectations, gradual rate cuts will continue. Aggressive rate cuts risk evaluating inflation, and essentially, but supportive financial conditions allow room to monitor data. Overall, the economic outlook aligns significantly with the essentially Fed's forecast, yet inflation risks still need management. Productively, growth may essentially help limit tariffs and inflationary impacts. Households remain concerned about the inflation pressure. A moderate, essentially, or slightly restrictive stance is appropriate. Artificial intelligence, with its broad potential, will be disruptive through predicting specific, essentially, challenges ahead. Similarly, Gooseball, essentially the other Fed member, said, it appears the US is entering a new wave of tariffs. The labor market remains stable. The impact of government shutdown on the economy depends on the scope of the duration. Short shutdowns minimally affect the economy. Persistent inflation would pose a challenging scenario for the Fed. Hopefully, tariffs result in one-time modest price hikes. Explaining essentially the rise in service inflation is as difficult as recent essentially hikes largely stem from tariffs, and currently we experience unusual low employment and layoffs. Gooseball statements linked the tariff story to Trump's recent announcements on the ongoing issue with China. We will impose tariffs on drug companies that do not reach agreements. A 5% to 8% additional tariff will apply without a deal. A shutdown is likely and essentially irreversible. Actions might occur during this period. Earlier statements from Jerome Powell, in contrast to the more hawkish members, adopted a moderate tone. He highlighted employment fluctuations as critical post-rate decisions, and essentially the development events requiring policy adjustments identified through employment alarms can be called with definitive and essentially precise data. Friday's non-farm payroll and unemployment essentially report that's going to be coming out essentially will provide us with the conclusive data that we need. Early projections for the JOLTS and essentially upcoming Friday data suggest employment improvements. Should these confirmations arise, the Fed's likelihood of bypassing a reduction in October due to sustained inflation could increase. So the update we've had so far is that we might be going towards a government shutdown tomorrow, essentially. The last government shutdown, essentially, as we essentially talked about in the past, when they were trying to do a government shutdown, again, when Trump was essentially the president of the United States back in 2018, and Trump invited Chuck Schumer, if I'm not mistaken, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi to the White House, where Nancy Pelosi thought it was going to be a closed-door meeting with Trump discussing essentially the shutdown, government shutdown situation. Instead, Trump made it a public thing where he invited essentially a bunch of news journalists to video camera to live record the entire thing, which angered Nancy Pelosi because she thought it was going to be a closed door meeting, which essentially Trump responded with, "I'm showing full transparency to the American public." And Nancy Pelosi hated the idea of transparency, and she wanted to do closed door meeting, which because then she could pressure somehow, not that Trump would listen, but she could pressure Trump somehow is what she was thinking. And that wouldn't work regarding being in front of news cameras on live news. So that didn't work the last time they tried in 2018. But this time around, as I said previously before, Democrats are still trying to shut down everything. Some might say it's because of the healthcare bill. Others might just say because it's Trump and the Democrats just want to get one back at him. Either way, who's going to feel the massive L? Not Trump or the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. We will, to be fairly honest. So the faster the Democrats get on board, the better it is for all of us. Now, SEC is what we're going to talk about next on tonight's live. But that is essentially what's happening. Tomorrow, we might have a government shutdown. Might. Not guaranteed any sort of a way. SEC is what we're going to talk about next on tonight's live. SEC eyes a quick launch of the on-chain stock essentially trading. And just to essentially say one more thing regarding this whole government shutdown situation. Regarding the crypto markets, if you're wondering if we do have a government shutdown tomorrow, what's going to be happening towards the crypto markets? Well, as I said previously, there's two outcomes on the table. One outcome is Bitcoin will start following tech stocks. If the stock market goes down because of a government shutdown situation, then Bitcoin will also go down because of shock and also following tech stocks. Even though Bitcoin is supposed to be following gold because it's known as digital gold, yet Bitcoin does have tendencies to follow stock tech, essentially tech stocks. So stock market goes down, crypto goes down with it pretty much. The other outcome, cryptocurrencies in a scenario like this could be seen as an alternative investment field. So if the stock market goes sideways, crypto might essentially be seen as the alternative market space and investors might start pouring in. Or the third option is investors will just start going for gold, as they usually do, but crypto could also be seen as alternative in this essentially scenario as well. So there's about three outcomes on the table. One, everybody will take a hit. Option number two, crypto will go slightly up, seen as the alternative market space. Option number three, gold will go up. Now, moving on from the government shutdown situation that might happen tomorrow to the SEC. SEC eyes quick essentially launch of the on-chain stock trading. Now, if you haven't heard about it, the SEC seems to be opening its doors to the stock market and the crypto market space, and also giving signs of tokenization regarding the stock markets. Before we go through that, let's go inside the comment section first. As I said previously, this is live, which means if you do have any questions, go for it inside the comment section. More than happy to help you out. So let's see where we're at inside the comment section. We were here. You can transfer in Tangent as well, another token, maybe a stablecoin. You can also do that as well. Yep, using Tangent as own essentially DeFi space. Yes, 100%. Then maybe withdraw at later date. You can also do that as well. Yes, facts. Even Miles of CMF, Susie, good to see as well. How you doing? Hi, Miles of CMF. Stormy, good to see as well. How you doing? Hi, Miles of Family. Alex, good to see as well. How you doing? Greetings from Texas. What up, Miles of CMF? Ray, good to see you, brother. How you doing? How's your day been, Miles of CMF? Lena, it's been all over the place. Even in Miles of CMF. Jason, good to see you as well. How you doing? How's your day, Lena? Now, SEC. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, is reportedly pushing for a major shift in the financial markets, bringing traditional stock trading on-chain. According essentially to a report by The Information, the SEC is backing the idea of letting stocks trade on blockchain networks, much like cryptocurrencies. This change could essentially come quicker than most expected. signaling a significant modernization of how the US equities are bought and sold. Bringing stocks on-chain offers several advantages. Increased transparency. Blockchain records every transaction essentially in real time and is visible to all participants, reducing the risk of fraud and manipulation. Faster settlements. Essentially traditional stock trades can take days to settle, with blockchain transactions can be completed in minutes or even seconds, depending on the chain. Lower costs. By cutting out intermediaries like essentially clearinghouses, blockchain trading could essentially significantly reduce the fees and the friction. For years, crypto advocates essentially have argued that blockchain technology could improve financial markets. Now, the SEC seems to be aligning with that view, possibly paving the way for essentially a hybrid financial system where both crypto and traditional assets coexist on the same digital rails. While this shift essentially won't happen overnight, nothing happens overnight, it takes a little bit of time. The fact that the SEC is even open to rapid implementation shows a change in regulatory tone. If successful, this could unlock a new era where major assets from Apple stocks to government bonds are traded like cryptocurrencies. The idea that the SEC is even open to this, talking about it, how we can create a coexistent, essentially hybrid system of crypto and stocks and tokenization is, amazing, to be fairly honest. From where the SEC was with Gary Gensler to now, big difference. And a lot of liquidity, the easiest way to put it. Because whatever chains are chosen to essentially tokenize these stocks, you can expect a tremendous amount of liquidity entering the market space. Now, it would also have indirect value on chains that aren't used because, it adds credibility towards the crypto space. Not to all chains. Top 10, top 20, top 30, and so on. Now, Senator Luminous essentially advocates for a crypto tax modernization in the Senate. Now, that is something we have discussed before in the past on this live show. We've discussed about regarding taxation of cryptocurrencies in different jurisdictions. And when it always came to the United States, it was always on the idea of tax won't be applied to cryptocurrencies, especially not American crypto projects. Well, we have an update from Senator Luminous, essentially. Senator Cynthia Luminous and essentially Senator Bill are advancing essentially cryptocurrency tax legislations in the Senate aimed at modernizing tax policies to better align with digital economies. The proposed legislations could generate $600 million over a decade of fostering stable environments for cryptocurrency innovation and adoption. Senator Cynthia Luminous, known for her advocacy in cryptocurrency legislations, is working to update the tax rules for digital assets. The latest proposal introduces essentially measures like a $300 de minimis exemption and aims to end the double taxation on crypto mining and staking activities. So you won't be taxed on your staking activities and you won't be taxed on mining cryptocurrencies either. Luminous introduces legislations for digital assets and tax reforms. Joining forces with Senator Bill, the bill essentially seeks to align tax policies with digital economy. It emphasizes the need for a modern approach to taxation. In order to maintain our competitive edge, we must change our tax codes to embrace our digital economy, also to not burden digital asset users. Highlighting the urgency essentially for the regulatory clarity, these initiatives aim to create a more friendly regulatory environment for digital assets inside the US. The bill supports essentially the new tax rules for cryptocurrency modernization. The proposed new tax regulations are expected to generate about $600 million in net revenue by 2034, according to the Congressional Joint Committee on Taxation. Broader essentially market implications include simplified tax rules, potentially encouraging increased crypto adoption. The impact of legislation goes beyond financial effects, potentially offering a positive shift in regulatory clarity. Greater transparency and consistency are expected to spur investor confidence, fostering better engagement with cryptocurrency markets. Past attempts at clarifying cryptocurrency tax obligations include initiatives similar to Senator Luminous' bill. These efforts, through less comprehensive, laid the groundwork for a more structured regulatory framework now presents in the current legislative efforts, and crypto tax bills aim to provide clarity for taxpayers. Informed essentially by insights, analysts said the ongoing essentially legislative changes might position the US as a leader essentially in crypto regulations. The potential outcomes include increased investments and innovation driven by clearer understandings of tax obligations, and the Senate Bill 954 proposes updates for digital asset taxations. So, are you going to get taxed regarding your cryptocurrencies inside the United States? Is there going to be any tax applied? By the looks of it, yes. Regarding taxing on staking your crypto assets, that's won't apply. So it's going to, by the looks of it, there's going to be no taxing when you're staking your cryptocurrencies and you get rewards. No taxing if you're essentially mining cryptocurrencies. But regarding spending essentially cryptocurrencies or holding them for a certain period of time, they haven't made that clear yet. So, but it does look like there is going to be some sort of taxing going on. But it also looks like even if there is some sort of taxing going on, it's going to be extremely reduced because they said they want to compete with the rest of the world on becoming, the crypto hub of the world, essentially. United States market space becoming that crypto hub. Obviously, they've got to have some sort of reduced numbers on taxation to compete with the rest of the world. So they're still trying to bring innovation and so on. So yes, it does look like tax is going to be there. No, they're not going to be taxing you on your crypto staking or crypto mining so far, but reduced taxes is what they're looking at right now. Now, Deutsches Börse, essentially is what we're going to talk about on tonight's live. Partners with Circle. Before we talk about that, let's go inside the comment section first. Let's see what's happening there, and then we go straight into the next news on tonight's live. Let's see where we're at. We were at here. Even Miles of CMF. Jason, good to see you. How you doing? Miles, what are your thoughts on Swift having its own blockchain? Swift, as I said previously, can do whatever they want. They can partner up, as I said on yesterday's live as well. Swift could partner up with 1,000 blockchains if they wanted to, if that would essentially give them credibility in any sort of a way inside its market space. And I know Swift goes on and says, well, we are Swift, we are trusted inside the market space, inside the banking sector, inside the financial sector, which up to a certain extent, yes, Swift is trusted. But then if you look at the bigger picture where certain countries have decided, not certain, a tremendous amount of countries have decided to move away from Swift. Because going into a digital world, we don't really need Swift. The messaging standards, the messaging tools, essentially, that Swift is trying to update and modernize and bring it into this digital world we're heading into is not really needed in any sort of a way at all. And there's a reason why the BRICS countries essentially decided to move away from Swift. As I said, it's because it's got something to do with political movements, where Swift was never really a messaging standard firm, more on the sides of going around sanctioning countries because they were told to sanction those countries, but it makes the payment company look bad. And that's why BRICS nations decided, well, it's time to move away from Swift. On that note, Swift can create its own blockchain. Swift can partner up with Chainlink, with Solana, with AVAX, with TON, Cardano, with HBAR. They can partner up with whoever they want in this century. It still won't give them the edge that they used to have, or may still have inside the financial sector, going into a digital world. Because there's a reason why so many countries moved away from Swift. It's not to do with their slow system or their costly system. It has somewhat to do with it, but not majority of it. It's the political side of Swift that these countries don't like, where one day Swift can turn around and say, your country is sanctioned. And that's the last thing any country wants. But if those countries decide to use the XRP ledger, for example, a neutral party, a neutral asset XRP, who's going to sanction them? Nobody. Which means nobody gets sanctioned on the XRP ledger, but if you use Swift in a digital world, you still have a chance of getting sanctioned. That's why I say Swift is essentially a political tool. It's not a messaging standard, it's a political tool. So Swift can do whatever they want. They create their own blockchain. They could do whatever they want. And, to be fairly honest, for the longest time, they said they hated, essentially, they said that blockchain is never going to take off and so on and so on. And then they saw how advanced Ripple became. And then, essentially, when Ripple got their name alongside Swift and that Bank of International Settlements PDF document, public information, cross-border payments, alongside Swift, is when Swift made the announcement, essentially, a week after that, they're getting involved in blockchain. So they can honestly do whatever they want, but they're still going to be falling behind. Please like and share the live. Let's go, funky brother. Absolute facts. Hi, Miles. How far now? Bull run and chance. Can XRP save me from CBDCs? Yes. XRP save you from CBDCs? In my opinion, yes. Not financial advice. Regarding the bull run, considerable change. How can I stake XRP in futures? You can't stake XRP in futures markets, but if you're trying to say, how can you stake your XRP in the future? You can stake your XRP even now if you wanted to. Obviously, none of these methods are recommended. You can use platforms like Binance, essentially, or Coinbase, or Uphold, or Xamon. There are essentially certain platforms out there that you can use on semi-safe or even safe to stake your cryptocurrencies if you wanted to. Hello again, beautiful people. It certainly has been a while since I was last on this chat room. Let's go, Thompson. Good to see you. How you doing? XRP and Flair are getting married and will convince a baby. FXRP, freaking awesome. Let's go, Thompson. Miles, 11,000 XRP is enough to be safe from CBDCs. That's a brilliant amount to have. Hi, Miles. How are you today? Michael, good to see you as well. How you doing? I'm doing great. Sorry I'm late. No problem. What did I miss? A little bit. You missed regarding the government shutdown situation. Might be happening tomorrow. Might not be happening tomorrow. XRP may also have futures, essentially a future wife with Songbird. You are far better than most people who do not have any XRP within their portfolios. Facts. Absolutely facts. Thanks. Now, Deutsche Börse has just partnered with essentially Circle, and it integrates Circle's USDC and URC. Deutsche Börse Group partners with Circle to integrate USDC and URC stablecoins into European financial markets, utilizing the regulatory clarity announced on their own official platforms. This collaboration signifies essentially a pivotal development in the cryptocurrency regulation sector, potentially essentially influencing stablecoin adoption across Europe, elevating essentially digital finance integrations. The partnership between Deutsche Börse Group and Circle aims to integrate USDC and EuroC stablecoins into European essentially financial systems. This collaboration follows increased EU regulatory clarity regarding stablecoin usage, focusing on significant financial implications in the region. Deutsche Börse essentially Group and Circle Internet Financial announced their major collaboration incorporating these stablecoins. The collaboration is expected to impact the financial operations by fostering stablecoin usage in trading and custody solutions across the entire Europe. With its launch, this move might influence various financial sectors throughout the EU in the coming years. Jeremy, the CEO of Circle Internet Financial, commented on the matter and said the agreement aims to integrate Circle's euro and dollar pegged tokens, EuroC and USDC, into trading settlements and custody services across the exchange operators' platforms. The integration could strengthen the stablecoin market through Deutsche Börse capital markets and presence, potentially leading to more coexistence in terms of digital assets and managements in line with the markets and crypto essentially asset regulations, the MICAR frameworks. Regulatory essentially certainty provided by the MICAR could essentially attract more stablecoin issuers to European markets. This change aligns with the previous stablecoin introductions by financial institutions following similar regulatory updates and promising a much more smoother financial landscape for digital assets. Insights suggest that potential expansions in terms of stablecoins trading across European exchanges likely affecting the overall market dynamics. Observations from past regulatory challenges indicates gradual increases in the essentially European market space. To be fairly honest, this is brilliant news because it does add liquidity, not overnight, but over time towards the market space. The more the stablecoins essentially expand, the more stablecoin companies expand inside of different market spaces around the world, the more liquidity that's going to be entering towards the market space, because liquidity tends to enter from stablecoins to crypto assets. Sometimes it can be direct fiat to crypto, but in most cases, it does tend to be stablecoins straight away to crypto assets. So it goes fiat, stablecoins, crypto. So this does add essentially liquidity towards the market space, not overnight, but over time. It's brilliant news, to be fairly honest. Now, the European market space is also, opening their arms towards the crypto sector even further. The Federal Reserve is what we're going to talk about next on tonight's live. The Federal Reserve, Susan Collins, signals a possible 2025 policy easing. The Federal Reserve Bank of Boston's president, essentially Susan Collins, suggested potential monetary policy easing in 2025. She said if economic indicators align during essentially a Council on Foreign Relations event, Collins' remarks have influenced market sentiments. impacting major cryptocurrencies and the US dollar in the anticipation of changes in interest rates and monetary policy directions. So it's not just Jerome Powell's voice essentially from the Fed that gives this essentially echo inside the market space. Susan Collins' voice also gives creates some sort of a ripple effect inside the market space. The Federal Reserve Bank of Boston President Susan Collins has expressed that slight further easing of monetary policies in 2025 could be appropriate if economic data supports it. Her statements came at the Council on Foreign Relations event on September 30th, 2025, emphasizing the job gains despite the healthy economic growths. The potential change in policy highlights a response to current labor markets and weaknesses inside the US economy. Collins noted inflation would remain elevated in the following year before essentially easing. As a result, institutional investors are closely watching the possible shifts in economic conditions and policy adjustments. Current labor market weaknesses is due to heightened uncertainty, resulting in the job gain situations. This is somewhat puzzling in the healthy economic growth, Susan M. Collins, essentially the president and CEO, the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, said. Historical patterns show that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies have responded with sharp price movements during Fed rate adjustments due to increased speculation and liquidity dynamics inside the global financial markets. Researchers are right now highlighting the likelihood of a policy easing contributing to more speculative momentums inside the cryptocurrency sector, potentially driving demand across major assets, and historically relaxed monetary conditions boost the appeal of high-risk investments, creating a significant upward pressure on Bitcoin and altcoins during similar monetary policy shifts. So according to Susan, essentially, we could be expecting some sort of announcements coming out of the Fed that could be easing that movements. Again, all of this is based on if we do have a government shutdown or not. Because, as I said, if we do have a government shutdown tomorrow, for example, is what's been essentially estimated, then on Friday, the data that's supposed to be coming out regarding the job payrolls might not even come out. If it doesn't come out, then the market's going to be staggered up until Friday or even next week. Now, institutional investors is what we're going to talk about next. This one is a pretty interesting one. This news that came out today. Institutional investors are apparently pulling back, but they're not pulling back out of the entire crypto sector. No, but they are pulling back out of essentially Bitcoin. Institutional investors like BlackRock and Fidelity are witnessing significant funds from Bitcoin ETFs, resulting in over $500 million in net redemptions recently. This outflow signifies reduced institutional demand for Bitcoin, contributing to notable declines in Bitcoin and Ethereum prices, impacting the overall cryptocurrency market sentiments. And it's only because we don't have regulations inside the market space. We need that Clarity Act passed ASAP. The cryptocurrency market is experiencing significant shifts as institutional investors retreat from their Bitcoin holdings. This pullback has led to notable price declines, affecting Bitcoin and Ethereum values. The market is witnessing increased volatility aimed at these changes. And key players such as BlackRock, Fidelity, and ARK Invest are reducing their Bitcoin exposure, influencing the market significantly. This change includes a reduction in corporate Bitcoin holdings from companies like Strategy and Tesla, affecting the overall market sentiment. The withdrawal of institutional support has left a noticeable impact on Bitcoin's price, as essentially hovering around $112,000. Ethereum also saw a decline, dropping below $4,000. The ripple effect essentially has influenced investor confidence inside the cryptocurrency sector, but it shouldn't, because it's just regarding these two assets. And again, we don't have regulations. The financial markets essentially is responding to these changes with reduced Bitcoin ETF redemptions. Simultaneously, regulatory bodies are increasing essentially their scrutiny on these types of transactions. Historical patterns inside the crypto market show that similar volatility during downtrends caused by regulatory and macroeconomic factors. The current situation suggests that potential long-term impacts on investors' and sentiments and market trends, necessitating essentially careful monitoring of these factors. An expert's analysis points to possible financial regulatory outcomes as essentially scrutiny continues. Michael Saylor, the executive chairman of Strategy, emphasized, "Our commitment to Bitcoin remains unwavering, and we will believe its transformative potential despite market fluctuations." So even though BlackRock, Fidelity, and ARK Invest are having withdrawal syndrome right now from Bitcoin, Michael Saylor is still not giving up. He's still buying. Whereas BlackRock, Fidelity, and ARK Invest are having outflows right now. The evolving regulatory landscapes may involve imposed challenges impacting innovation and technology developments inside the cryptocurrency sphere. Ongoing market analysis provides critical insights into future trends. What is actually interesting, though, is that in another article that was released today from Cointelegraph, it suggests that the reasonings of why there is market withdrawal from Bitcoin and Ethereum in terms of institutional investors from their ETFs is because they're lining up for XRP. And this isn't a perspective from, a random crypto influencer or so on, or some sort of analyst. Cointelegraph came out with this perspective. But we're going to go through that on tonight's live as well. But before we go through that, this also happened. SEC issues another positive decision for cryptocurrencies, and it also affects Ripple XRP. An important step has been taken by the US Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, regarding cryptocurrency storage. Now, we all know that Ripple offers some sort of custodian services, especially a high-grade institutional cold storage wallet, which they developed through Metico with HSBC, Standard Chartered Bank, and Zodiac Custody, and so on. So, with the SEC not only making the announcement of the stock market and the crypto market space connecting together regarding tokenizations, the SEC also essentially has issued a no-action letter stating that investment advisors can use state-chartered trusted companies as qualified custodians for crypto assets. This is brilliant news because Ripple offers this type of service. The SEC is really opening their doors, to be fairly honest. Under the Investment Advisors Act of 1940, investors' assets must be held in qualified custodians, such as banks or nationally chartered trust companies. The new guidance clarifies that state-licensed trust companies are also covered, giving investment advisors and regulated funds a wider range of options for crypto asset storage. This additional clarity was necessary because state-licensed trust companies were not universally considered appropriate custodians for crypto assets, said essentially Brian, the director of the SEC Office of Investment Management, in a statement. He also argued that investment advisors could essentially use these companies if they conducted due diligence and essentially deemed it is essentially the best interest for their investors. The decision, essentially from the SEC being announced, paves the way for companies like Ripple, Coinbase, and essentially BitGo and WisdomTree to offer these types of custodian services now to institutional companies. So this is massive news. Not only is Ripple essentially able to embed its XRP ledger inside the financial sector, not only is Ripple applying for a Fed master account and also essentially applying for a bank license, but now it's getting a green light that it could offer also custodian services inside the United States, because it's getting a green light from the SEC. Not that Ripple's getting a green light, but in general, custodian companies are getting a green light, and Ripple is one of them. So that is massive news. Now, moving on to another massive news, which is regarding David Schwartz. I'm guessing everybody's seen essentially the news regarding David Schwartz, the CTO of Ripple, essentially coming out and saying that he's going to be departing from his role as the CTO essentially of Ripple, and he's going to be joining the board of directors of Ripple. A lot of people think that David Schwartz is just stepping down in general and moving back completely and retiring in some sort of a way. That's not the case. He's stepping down as CTO and joining the board of directors at Ripple, which in some sort of way you could say maybe his job is done, and that now he can sit back as the inside the board of directors at Ripple. Ripple CTO David Schwartz to step down after 13 years of service. Ripple's Chief Technology Officer, David Schwartz, announced his decision to step down at the end of 2025. After over 13 years of service, Schwartz will transition from his day-to-day duties at the company. He shared essentially his plans to spend more time with his family and essentially rekindle his personal hobbies. Schwartz confirmed that he will leave his position as Ripple's CTO in December 2025. Reflecting on his time at the company, he called it one of the greatest honors and experiences of his life. Despite stepping down, Schwartz will remain involved with Ripple as a member of the board of directors. David, this is what he said on X, if you missed it. As happiness is one of life's I've essentially been taking stock of my last 40 years. It's been a wild ride. I've gone essentially from consulting for the NSA to watching the early stages of Bitcoin. Then I met Arthur, Jed, and Chris and worked on coding the XRP ledger. Now I've spent more than 13 years. Now, obviously, there are paragraphs upon paragraphs of what he said, but I just took a segment out of that, where he worked on the NSA. He worked essentially on essentially seeing the early stages of Bitcoin, and then he developed and worked on the XRP ledger next. In his farewell statement, David Schwartz expressed his deep appreciation for Ripple's leadership and the community. He thanked the CEO Brad, President Monica Long, and co-founders Chris Larson, and essentially Arthur Bittro. Schwartz also emphasized his essentially continued connection with the XRP community and his role as the CTO essentially. Ripple's CEO Brad also praised David Schwartz's contributions to the company. He described Schwartz as essentially the smartest and maybe the funniest person he knows. Brad further highlighted David Schwartz's exceptional vision and insights into the crypto space, adding, "You are a legend." So this is what this is what Brad said regarding David Schwartz, if you missed it. The smartest and maybe the funniest person I know, a true OG inside crypto with conviction and vision to see what others couldn't. You are a legend. Thank you, David, for everything you have done for the industry, for Ripple, and for the XRP ledger. We are all very grateful. Forever. Monica Long also weighed in as well. Monica Long, Ripple's president, also reacted to Schwartz's departure. She expressed her admiration for his qualities, calling him essentially humble and ingenious. Long acknowledged essentially that the mighty community that Ripple has today would not exist without David Schwartz's leadership and vision. David Schwartz, this mighty community wouldn't exist without you, nor the inventions of proof of association, the DEX, the smart escrows, continuous essentially auction in the AMM. I could go on. I deeply respect your ingenuity, your integrity, humor, humility, which you demonstrate daily. David Schwartz's departure marks the end of an era at Ripple. He played a pivotal role in shaping Ripple's technological advancements and its standing in the cryptocurrency industry. Even as he steps down, David Schwartz's legacy will continue to influence Ripple's future growth and success. If David Schwartz is stepping down and joining the board of directors at Ripple, it pretty much means his job is done, and that Ripple is pretty much needs to be where it is right now. That everything that because that's the only reason that somebody like David Schwartz would step down. From being essentially on day one of being alongside the XRP ledger, creating XRP ledger until now, and Monica Long essentially mentioning all the things that David Schwartz brought to the table for the XRP ledger one by one on her X tweet. The only thing that was suggested is why he's stepping down is that his job is done. He got to the XRP ledger to where it needs to be, which now he can sit back as the board of directors at Ripple, which for us is positive news. It means that we're getting closer to the end of the journey. Now, also sticking on essentially the whole Ripple XRP news, Dilute supports Ripple's USD essentially launch. The first Dilute-backed Ripple, essentially RLUSD, has been confirmed, signal a new phase of stablecoin transparency and institutional assurance inside the cryptocurrency sector. This event could significantly enhance trust and integration of RLUSD, within essentially compliance and heavy financial environments, potentially influencing market dynamics and the adoption of stablecoins. This is big news essentially coming from Dilute. Ripple's USD essentially, with backing from Dilute, marks a pivotal moment for stablecoin transparency. Ripple integrates this essentially solution strategy to further validate its commitment to a one-to-one reserve backing and increase the stablecoin market trust. Involved stakeholders include Dilute and Ripple, who collaborated to launch this initiative. Dilute provides their reliable audit services, while Ripple focuses on reinforcing their stablecoin legitimacy, essentially marking a significant industry shift. Enhanced transparency also, the immediate influence touches both financial sectors and consumer confidence. This initiative enhances institutional integration into compliant ecosystems, thus reinforcing stablecoin roles while essentially regulated jurisdictions due to increased trust and transparency, backed by the renowned auditing firms like Dilute. Dilute is building Dilute Glass, a tool that verifies one-to-one reserve backings for stablecoins, remarked Kim, the enterprise blockchain lead at Dilute NL. This is massive that essentially they're backing Ripple right now, because it shows that another side of Ripple that we've always talked about regarding their transparency side when it comes to Ripple, that they have nothing to hide, and whatever you see on the table is essentially what they have to offer. With Dilute now backing Ripple and saying, we're going to be backing, essentially showing that they do have these reserves, that they do have this one-to-one ratio, this transparency, it sends a message to the institutional sector that Ripple is not here to mess about. They're not Tether, who decides to create a new USDC USA token just to get inside the US, just to get inside the US market space. They're not USDC, who was essentially depegged once. This is Ripple we're talking about. And they want to show to the whole world that they have nothing to hide, that RLUSD does have that one-to-one reserve, one-to-one backing. Financial impacts include bolstered trust in stablecoins, potentially elevating trading volumes, and integration within traditional financial structures. This partnership signals a growing commitment to regulatory compliance in asset-backed digital financial products. The project's financials and technological outcomes are anticipated in the form of broadened stablecoin usage. It suggests a trend towards more regulated digital financial products, following paths laid by preceding stablecoin audits, positively impacting liquidity in environments. Insights point to broad implications for cross-border payments and DeFi ecosystems. With Dilute exhortation and fostering trust in RLUSD, it essentially indicates possible shifts in trading volumes and enhanced liquidity. That is massive. That Ripple essentially got this company to back them. Before we talk about the next XRP Ripple news on tonight's live, let's go inside the comment section first and see what's happening there. Then we go straight into the next Ripple XRP news. As I said previously, if you do have any comments, go for inside the comment section. More than happy to help you out. So let's see where we're inside the comment section. No problem, boss. Paul says, do you have any contacts for an advisor who can set up a trust fund and manage our high net worth portfolios once XRP does go, just like Jay Calver, but in the UK? No, I do have, but I'm not offering these types of services, mainly because the regulations are not there yet. And in the UK, we don't have certain regulations. We don't have any regulations, to be fairly honest. So if you do something inside of a market space with so much gray area, down the line, it could backfire. And I know people are on X telling people to open up trusts inside the market space to protect your crypto assets. Get a trust is what everybody's saying. It's not as... There's a lot more to it, is what I would say. And wait for, as I said previously, wait for the regulations, because there's too much of a gray area inside the market space still. Inside the United States, we've only passed one regulation, which is the Genius Act. Inside the United Kingdom, we haven't passed anything. Inside of Europe, they've passed some regulations, but they're going back and forward on the ones they have passed and they're editing it out. So we're still operating in a gray area. And for you to be hasty, not in general you, but for anybody to be hasty and do certain movements inside the market space with so much gray area, you don't know what's going to happen at the end of the line. So the easiest thing I could say to you is, I would say wait for the regulations to kick in first, to see what you can and what you can't do. And maybe they change the regulations. If you have a trust, the UK might say you could be liable for certain things if you have a crypto trust. We don't know yet, is what I'm trying to say. We don't know regarding the US either. In the US, they essentially said taxation of cryptocurrencies, no tax for cryptocurrencies. It was essentially the longest topic inside the US, which was no tax for cryptocurrencies. And now we have Senator Luminous coming out today, Cynthia Luminous coming out today with Bill, another senator, and saying they're going to have tax, but it's going to be reduced tax. So you don't know what the rules and regulations are going to be. You never know when essentially they come out and say, if you have a crypto trust, you could be falling into this, is what I'm trying to say. Don't make movements in a gray area market space. The reason why institutions, for example, don't like to get involved in certain market space when it comes to crypto is because of too much gray areas. That's the easiest way I could put it. We don't know what essentially is going to be happening next. So pulling hasty movements now, it's going to be, you don't know what's going to be happening tomorrow. Easiest way to put it. For everybody that is thinking about doing certain things inside the market space. Hello, Mars CMF. Sorry to be late. Let's go. Scott, don't worry. How you doing? Anybody started using Flare's minting services? XRP into FXRP? I haven't, no. David Schwartz knows exactly what is about to occur. Therefore, maybe we will see the true value of XRP. Who knows? He may just be able to retire from XRP. I think he will. Good evening, Miles and family. Ian, good to see you. How you doing? Bitcoin's inception is from the NSA, along with the Far East Intelligence Services as well. S.K. Thompson. Bitcoin is nothing more than a test experiment function of the blockchain technology, although the irony is crypto is not Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not crypto, but they both run off the blockchain. I agree. Absolutely crazy, but that is how it is. I agree. Miles, do you know what happened with the Clarity Act today? I thought the 30th should get approved. Well, we don't know yet because there's this whole government shutdown situation happening. Before we go through the Clarity Act, we need to know, because if we have a government shutdown, then it's going to get difficult for the Clarity Act, and it's going to get difficult not to get cancelled out. It's never going to be happening. It's still going to pass through when they do essentially the upcoming meeting for it. But this government shutdown situation is what's keeping the markets from moving right now. We need to find out what's going to be happening. Is it a shutdown? Is it not a shutdown? We're going to move forward and so on. Because if we have a shutdown, Clarity Act is going to go on slight pause. And so is essentially the data essentially that's going to be released on Friday regarding the job data, which the Fed would need to make some sort of decisions on. So this whole government shutdown is, as I said on yesterday's live as well, is impacting all of us right now. So we need to know what happens there first before we're able to move forward on that matter. And again, as I said previously, if we could just get people from both parties, Republicans and Democrats, the ones that haven't agreed to this essentially situation of the passing, so we can move forward and we don't have a government shutdown. The faster we get that, the better it is. Honestly, to be fairly honest. As I said, they're not going to feel the L, okay? The only people that are going to feel the massive L is going to be us. If we do have a government shutdown, Trump will be perfectly fine. The Democratic Party will be fine. The Republican Party will be fine. We will be the ones that will take the massive L. So that's why we need the Democrats to accept whatever it is, or for the Republicans and Democrats to come to some sort of conclusion to pass this through ASAP. If they don't, it's going to be a bad couple of days for all of us. But as I said, there is the other outcome, which is the crypto market space might be seen as the alternative market space because traditional markets failing in that sense. The crypto market space could be seen as the alternative market space, slim chance, but it could be seen as that. Or the third option, which is just gold goes up. Now, let's see where Miles, do you think, okay, no, we were here. We're going through one by one. Let's see where we're at. Okay, hello CMF. Miles, any thoughts on developer on the XRP ledger who left today for Algorand? No thoughts on that one regarding the developer. Developers leave here and there and they go and work in different blockchains. That's not really a major issue, to be fairly honest, so don't worry about that too much. Inside the crypto space, developers move about quite a lot. Do you think the XRP ETFs might get approved earlier than its due date? Yes, it's a possibility. Regarding XRP, essentially ETFs, could it pass through earlier than the date is supposed to? Yes, you never know. Regarding what Eric essentially said from Bloomberg, the ETF specialist analyst, Eric and James essentially came to some sort of conclusion that because of what the SEC announced, we could maybe see that ETF passed within a few days. So keeping that as an outcome, not the outcome, but yes, things can move faster. Miles, can you elaborate on the XRP shock supply? Regarding what the thread that I wrote, is that what you're referring to? Yep, Lorenzo says, delay, all due to the Dems. I agree. XRP is in good hands. Now David can move on to something else. Sounds familiar? Yes, it does. UAE exchanges are running out of XRP tokens. David knows something he can't share right now. A shutdown will be nothing more than a buying opportunity on a discount. I agree. Any thoughts and opinions in regards to Near Protocol? Near Protocol? The last news I've ever had about Near Protocol was about maybe 8 months ago. We heard something about Near Protocol, to be fairly honest. Not major news around it, as much as I'm aware of it. I don't know if there's any recent major news around Near, but not that I've seen, to be fairly honest. And regarding government shutdown, yep, there's definitely discount opportunity. Regarding also essentially David Schwartz might know something, possibility high. Regarding essentially UAE exchanges running out of XRP and the supply shock question, essentially Funky Brother asked, it is happening right now. Essentially, a lot of exchanges don't have enough XRP, which comes to the next news I'm about to share with you. So I also shared with you, if anybody joined in late, I also shared with you the news regarding there's a withdrawal situation happening with Bitcoin through BlackRock and Fidelity and ARK Invest. However, Michael Saylor is still buying Bitcoin. But there's a withdrawal situation happening with BlackRock, Fidelity, and ARK Invest. And with that news that came out today, this news also came out. XRP could be Wall Street's secret weapon. Now, this is an article that came directly from Cointelegraph themselves. So, in a surprising twist, XRP may be gearing up to become Wall Street's next big play. With growing essentially whispers about spot XRP ETF filings and some institutional investors quietly backing the asset, XRP's position in the market is shifting rapidly. Is this why David Schwartz essentially decided to step down today? It's just odd. David Schwartz stepping down and becoming a board member essentially at Ripple does indicate, in my point of view, that his job is done. Whatever it was, his job is done. And now he wants to sit back and relax, still being a part of Ripple as board of directors. That happens today, and then we get a few other announcements coming out of Ripple regarding dilute and some SEC movements that are happening, and then the withdrawal syndrome on Bitcoin, essentially ETFs with Fidelity and BlackRock and ARK Invest. And then we also get this article coming out from Cointelegraph Direct themselves, suggesting that essentially XRP could be Wall Street's secret weapon. In a surprising twist, XRP may be gearing up to become Wall Street's next big play. With growing whispers about XRP spot ETF filings and some institutional investors quietly backing the asset. XRP's position essentially in the market is shifting rapidly. For years, Bitcoin has dominated the institutional crypto narrative, but XRP could soon be making a serious bid for attention. ETF products offer regulated ways for large investors to gain exposure to digital assets. The success of Bitcoin ETFs have opened the door to similar offerings for other cryptocurrencies. XRP, with its real-time settlement system and fast transaction speeds, is increasingly becoming viewed as a viable investment or alternative. According to recent chatter inside the financial circles, some investment firms are already in the early stages of preparing XRP-based products. With no official filings have been made public yet, industry insiders suggest that regulatory clarity from the Ripple SEC lawsuit has paved the way for new opportunities. XRP isn't new to the crypto scene, but it's the institutional narrative that is gaining attraction right now. After Ripple's partial legal victory against the SEC, the token gained that legitimacy in the eyes of many market participants. And now, hedge funds and asset managers are reportedly re-evaluating XRP. That's big. If hedge funds and asset managers are re-evaluating XRP now, that's quite big. As a serious, long-term investment, much like how Bitcoin was viewed at its early days as a Bitcoin ETF. While Bitcoin is still considered that digital gold title it may have, XRP offers a unique feature like the low fees, the instant cross-border payments. These qualities make it attractive not just to retail traders, but also to financial institutions looking for practical use cases. The idea of an XRP ETF could transform how traditional markets view the token. It could essentially also open the floodgates for billions in institutional capital, just as we've seen for Bitcoin. This is what Cointelegraph posted on their own page on X. They said, insights, XRP may be Wall Street's dark horse with a spot ETF filing in motion, and some funds viewing it as the next Bitcoin. It's what Cointelegraph is posting on X. That the chatters that's going on inside of Wall Street right now, inside the financial sector, inside the financial circle, the chatter that's going on is hedge funds and asset managers are re-evaluating XRP as a long-term asset. And that XRP may be Wall Street's dark, essentially, horse in this type of movement play, with a spot ETF filing in motion and some funds viewing it as the next Bitcoin. Is that why David Schwartz stepped down and became a board member at Ripple? Because his job is really done. And therefore, David Schwartz can now sit back and relax if Wall Street, in the circle chatter of financial sectors, is now talking about how XRP is the next Bitcoin. That's essentially, this came out today. The same day David Schwartz stepped down and said, I want to relax now. With market speculations building and legal clarity improving, XRP could be setting the stage for a major institutional breakthrough. If a spot XRP ETF is approved, it would mark a historical shift for the token and possibly the broader cryptocurrency landscape. Investors and analysts alike will be watching closely. XRP's time in the spotlight might just be beginning. Also, it would explain why XRP has the most amount of ETF filings. As I said previously, the reason why XRP has the most amount of filings and why these companies have filed for XRP is because their client base wants XRP. And then you also look at the timeline. Look at the timeline where essentially, slowly, Coinbase has less XRP. Certain exchanges right now in their wallets, slowly, are having less XRP in them. There's a supply shock situation creating right now. It's starting for XRP, where certain exchanges don't even have enough XRP. And then you essentially get the announcements. XRP has the most amount of ETFs. Then the SEC says, we're going to be fast-tracking the ETFs now. We're also going to be green-lighting custodian services. David Schwartz is stepping down today. Cointelegraph is coming out with an article saying essentially that XRP is Wall Street's secret play, and that it could be the next Bitcoin. And then we also have an article come out today where there's a withdrawal syndrome happening from Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs through BlackRock and Fidelity and ARK Invest. And then we get this announcement where XRP is the next play. And this is Cointelegraph telling people that they're hearing this chatter inside the financial circles regarding XRP being the next big play. And then exchanges have less XRP. David Schwartz is stepping down. Also, SBI Ripple Asia and Tobu Top Tours are launching blockchain payment vision. Everybody remember SBI Ripple? Well, their newest announcement came out today. SBI Ripple Asia and Tobu Top Tours have signed an agreement to co-develop a blockchain payment platform. The initiative combines essential priority tokens with NFTs, enabling seamless transactions across tourism, regional economies, and the entertainment sector. Both companies aim to roll out their platforms in the first half of 2026. The blockchain payment platform will use XRP Ledger technology to issue fast, low cost, and secure tokens. These tokens will be operating within essentially closed ecosystems, enabling users to pay for services such as lodging, dining, and shopping. By embedding NFT features in the payments, the platform also enhances the value for each transaction. The Tobu Top Tours will focus on onboarding partners and managing marketing campaigns linked to NFTs. In parallel, essentially SBI Ripple Asia will handle token issuance and infrastructure developments using blockchain payment systems. Together, they aim to create a region-specific token that supports a cashless tourism while driving essentially local economies, while driving local economic activity. The joint venture leverages blockchain payment innovation to anchor users in local ecosystems. With token usage confirmed, essentially to select regions or communities, spending stays localized. This structure promotes financial circulation in targeted economies and deepens customer engagements. The platform aims to transform Japan's tourism industry through blockchain payment systems using the XRP ledger. Tourists will use area-specific tokens that function exclusively within designated shopping districts and destinations. This approach simplifies payment processes and strengthens financial loops and host regions. The NFTs will essentially accompany transactions as digital souvenirs or vouchers for future travel services on the XRP ledger as well. These added value items aim to encourage repeat visitors and foster long-term connections with the region among travelers in Japan. The system thus enables persistent digital essentially ties between consumer and locations. This method allows businesses to operate on transparent digital networks. Each transaction remains verifiable on the XRP ledger, reducing friction and enhancing trust. The company believes this can support not only tourists, but also local merchants and economies on a larger scale. The blockchain payment network, essentially the blockchain payment framework, includes applications for fan engagements and disaster recoveries. In fan communities, sports teams and artists often issue custom tokens or usable at events for exclusive merchants, all on the XRP ledger. NFT membership cards on the XRP ledger unlocks perks and experiences based on activities that are associated with tokens in Japan's tourism. This model not only boosts fan interactions, but also introduces new digital revenue streams. It deepens brand loyalty while facilitating flexible spending options at community events. The system is built to operate within each community's ecosystem, ensuring targeted value delivery. The platform supports disaster-stricken areas as well by enabling donations via regional tokens. So they're covering all types of areas. They're covering the tourism in Japan, and they're going to go from local to larger scales. They're covering essentially everything to do with tourism, everything to do with entertainment, and everything to do with a disaster type of scenario, all on the XRP ledger. In terms of finance, these funds can only be spent locally, ensuring that they essentially within their own jurisdictions. These funds ensuring that they are directly support their area-specific recovery efforts. If there's a disaster, the tokens essentially are released on the XRP ledger will be directed straight away to that place locally. The transparency and traceability are guaranteed through the blockchain payment structures, increasing donor confidence. The collaboration between SBI Ripple Asia and Tobu Top Tours brings blockchain payment systems into a new sector. By combining NFTs, digital tokens, and localized economies, the initiative builds a comprehensive vision for future digital payments. The project's development continues with full-scale operations expected in early 2026 to be released. So, just to have a note on that. 1. BlackRock and Ethereum today had a shortage, essentially in outflow happening on their ETFs. Regarding their Bitcoin and Ethereum, Fidelity, BlackRock, and ARK Invest had an outflow happening. An article from Cointelegraph today suggesting that essentially XRP is the next Bitcoin. From Cointelegraph, that XRP is the next Bitcoin. The reason why Cointelegraph is saying this is because the chatter that's happening right now in the financial circle where XRP is the next big play, that they're all waiting and lining up for the XRP ETFs to be approved by the SEC. Yes, we do have one XRP ETF, but that really didn't need approval because it went for a different method. The other ETFs are the ones that need approvals. And then we also have, regarding that matter, where David Schwartz essentially retiring today, at the same time an article comes out that basically says hedge funds and asset managers are lining up to buy XRP. And they're reevaluating XRP. And then we also have Larry Fink, a few days ago, that was released essentially on X, where he was asked the question, BlackRock's CEO was asked the question, what about XRP? And Larry Fink goes, no, I can't talk about that. When he was asked the question regarding XRP ETFs, he said, no, I can't talk about that, which the interviewer moved on. And as I said, that will only suggest that there is more to do with BlackRock and Ripple than meets the eye. It's not just ETFs, because nobody goes, no, let's move on if it's to do with ETFs. Nobody signs an NDA for ETFs. They might do, but there's no chance anybody signing an ETF NDA, especially not BlackRock. So that means there's more going on that meets the eye, especially when it comes to BlackRock and Ripple. And then we have the outflows happening regarding Bitcoin ETFs through BlackRock, essentially, and Fidelity and ARK Invest for Bitcoin and Ethereum. And then there's chatters inside the financial circles right now coming out today from Cointelegraph that XRP is the next Bitcoin. This isn't an influencer suggesting these words. It's Cointelegraph saying the financial circles are saying this, asset managers and hedge funds. And then we had Eric and James from Bloomberg, yesterday's live, suggesting that expect ETFs within a few days. And then we have the SEC greenlighting, essentially, custodians, which is essentially what Ripple offers. And then we also have the SEC making the announcement yesterday, essentially, or today, that they're fast-tracking, essentially yesterday, they're fast-tracking the ETFs in general. And then out of nowhere, Ripple SPI makes the announcement that essentially they're entering into the payment financial sector of tourism, entertainment, disasters, all on the XRP ledger in Japan's market space. And on top of that, David Schwartz is retiring today. Not retiring, but as in stepping down and sitting back and relaxing as the board of, essentially as a board member on Ripple, as a director's board member on Ripple. Which the only thing that would suggest why David Schwartz was essentially would do that is honestly that his job is done. That he achieved everything he needed to achieve for the XRP ledger to be a great blockchain. Something that nothing can compare to it. And that's the only reason a man like David Schwartz would step down, because his job is done. He made the XRP ledger unbeatable. And now he stepped down. He's relaxing as a board member of Ripple. On the same day that the article was released of XRP might be the next Bitcoin, according to Cointelegraph's chatter that's happening inside the financial sector. Honestly, if you weren't bullish enough on XRP, you should be even more bullish right now. On that note, we have come to the endings of tonight's live. This was the CMF Live. It stands for Crypto Miles Family. My name is Miles. You can tune to this live Monday to Friday, 10 p.m. London time onwards. This was episode 383 of the CMF Live. The disclaimer of this live, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. Incredible news, honestly, absolutely incredible news that came out today. Let's go inside the comment section, obviously, before we do leave. Let's see what's happening there. Let's see where we're at. David is now ready to reap in the rewards. Absolutely facts. David will retire on XRP. Facts. Schwartz knows that XRP is equal. Yep, facts. BlackRock is gearing to 5 XRP ETF. Facts. How many XRPs can lead to retirement in already under determined? Like how many? At what price amounts? As much as you can. Hi, Miles and CMF. Sorry, I'm super late. Peg, no problem. Good to see you. Let me go ahead and purchase some more XRP. Let's go, Stormy. Obviously, XRP is going up from here from now. It is going to be a very sad day for those who does not have the following: XRP, XLM, XDC. Facts. Good night, Miles and all CMF. Thank you for the great live and news. Let's go, JP. See you tomorrow, but same time as usual. Night, Miles and CMF. Pablo, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Thanks, Miles. Good night, everyone. Let's go, Stormy. See you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Good night, Miles and CMF. Mike, see you tomorrow, about the same time as usual. Thank you, Miles. Great news and episode. Good night. Let's go, Comatose. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Facts. Let's go, Ray. Wow, that's a great live tonight, Miles. Thank you. It's all coming together now. So much Ripple news today. I'm not sure I will sleep tonight. Long good night, Miles and CMF. Jason, let's go. See you tomorrow, sometime as usual. Man, I guess that they are going to the ones that will be holding a sign that states the following: willing to. I can't read that. I can't read that on the live. If anybody wants to read that comment, go for it, but I can't read that. Funny, but I can't read that. Miles, thanks, Miles. Man, as always, good night, Paul. Let's go. See you tomorrow, sometime as usual. Good night, Miles. Lots of happening this day. Great news. Kali, let's go. See you tomorrow, sometime as well. Traveling from Fort Knox military base. Great program. Let's go, Scott. See you tomorrow, but at the same time as usual. Excellent news, Miles. Thanks as always. Let's go, Shelly. See you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Very exciting news today night, Miles. Let's go, Susie. See you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Thanks, Miles. Scott, let's go, brother. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Thanks for sharing the great news today, Miles. Sleep tight, family. Let's go, Lena. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Or another saying, willing to do unthinkable for XRP. I can read that one, but I couldn't read the previous one on live. Funny, the previous one was very funny, but I couldn't read it. I can read that one though. Willing to do unthinkable things for XRP. Outstanding. Take care, Miles and CMF. Great things ahead. Let's go, Ray. So not millionaires, but billionaires. Let's go, Scott. Facts. Good night, Miles, and good luck, CMF, tomorrow regarding the US government. Facts. Let's see what happens with the US government tomorrow. Miles, do we have another year to buy X11 XDC at cheap prices? Yes, I would say so. They're still extremely cheap right now. Upside down pineapple. Pinned. Okay. I will see everybody tomorrow. Same time as usual. By the way, honestly, thank you so much to the CMF, everyone who liked and retweeted this live. If you haven't liked or retweeted this live and you're watching this right now on X, CMF members, smash the like buttons, smash the retweet buttons. And if you're watching this on YouTube, smash the like button and put a comment outside the live as well. Put a comment outside the live on this live as well on X. And I will see everybody. Honestly, thank you so much to every single one of you who did do those things, like and retweet and put a comment outside the live. And if you followed me during this live, welcome to the CMF as well. If you subscribed or followed me during this live, welcome to the CMF as well. I will see everybody tomorrow, same timing as usual, 10 p.m. London time onwards for the most recent news regarding cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, and regulations for episode 384 tomorrow. Either way, I'm so glad that I was in a chat room today. Thanks again for another brilliant live stream. Let's go, Thompson. See you tomorrow, but at the same time as usual. I'll see everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. Everybody honestly have a great day or a good night, depending on where you're around the world. Love you all. See you all tomorrow, same time as usual. The disclaimer of this live, as always, not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. See everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. Like, follow, retweet, retweet, comment, follow, subscribe if you already haven't. If you have, honestly, thank you so much. Love you all.